On Friday the 11th of December 2020, the last ever EA-hauled regional service was operated, and with that the end of an era that had started out in 1986. The EA class came about as a result of one of the State Railways APO groups, or Research into New Traction projects, in the late 70s. The inspiration came from the German 120 class, which became the foundation of the technical side of the EA design. However, some things were altered, like the voltage of which the locomotives was to run on, as Germany runs with 15,000 volts AC, and Denmark operates with 25,000. The first of the class were delivered in 1984 to the State Railways by Henschel of Germany, and were shortly after followed up by 8 from Scandia in Randers, Denmark. In the 90s, further locomotives were delivered, placing the class on a total of 22 members. It was planned from here to extend to 100 members, but the electrification projects making this possible were cancelled, and the project was stopped. The 22 members boasted a length of 19.38 meters and a width of 3.18 meters. They had a wheel diameter of 1,250 millimeters and a top speed of 175 kilometers an hour, or 108 miles per hour. They differed from other electrical locomotives by having 4 asynchronous engines, which gave them a more stable control than DC engines could provide. They provided a power output of 4,000 kilovolts or 5,400 horsepower. The EA class was also the first class to have an E as the first letter, as well as being the first to receive names, a tradition that hadn't been in use since the Zealand Railway Company merged into the State Railways Company in the 1880s. They were named after architects, engineers and physicists. The EA class first appeared in front of passenger trains on Zealand, when they were put into service between Copenhagen and Elsinore in 1986, as the line to Korsør hadn't been electrified at that point. After the opening of the Great Belt Link in 1997, they can also be seen in service on Funen and Jutland in front of goods trains. In the beginning of the 90s, the IR4 EMUs appeared as the electrical variant of the IC3 DMU, and were slowly introduced on regional services. These, however, had some problems in the early years of service, as they kept having problems when passing an EA class. These problems were, however, sorted, and the IR4s became more and more frequent on regional services, while EAs were used on goods trains. In June 2001, the State Railways Goods Department was sold to Railion, and with it followed 10 members of the EA class, while another 6 were sold to Bull Market in Bulgaria. Another service that the EAs were a common sight on was sleeper trains, and here the remaining 6 locomotives were put into use, but as the class were alone on these services, a minor number of locomotives were required in operational use. The last of the sleeper trains was the City Night Line, which was hauled by an EA class from the border at Padborg to Copenhagen. On the 3rd of November 2014, the last City Night Line returned to Germany as an empty stock move behind EA class 3022. In 2015, the EA class were once again to be seen on regional services as the line to Esbjerg and Jutland had been electrified, and with it the possibility of running intercity services with the IR4 EMUs, creating a gap in the services between Copenhagen and Ringsted and Slagelse. Therefore, the EA class were equipped with the ZWS system in order for them to operate push-pull trains with the double-decker stock, and the first to enter service with the equipment was number 3007. In 2017, the remaining members of the class were painted red, with the introduction of the new design program, and a farewell to the old flywheel, and hello to the recycled S-Train logo with the letters DSB in the middle. In their new design, the EA class continued to be a common sign on certain departures between Copenhagen and Slagelse and Ringsted, but only on weekdays. This was due to the fact that the 6 remaining members were beginning to show their age, and due to spare parts being in short supply, keeping the class in service was being a bit of a challenge. Therefore, number 3004 and 3010 were sidelined due to their poor condition. The first member of the class, 3001, was already sidelined in 2016 and scrapped the following year, leaving 3020 and 22 in service with 3007 in reserve. In 2020, the class was chased almost constantly by enthusiastic photographers, including myself, who wanted to have the last pictures and video before the end. The end came, as mentioned, on the 11th of December 2020, and after arriving at Østerport station, EA 3020 departed with an empty stock move for the last time. The last job for the EA class was the day after, when 3020 and 22 was on a test run to Korsør and back, when the Royal Coach WRM 603 that had just completed its overhaul and therefore needed a test run. (3007, 3010, 20 and 22 is now for sale with delivery in 2021, and who might purchase them is a question. Well, we'll have to wait and see, but one can hope that the Romanian and Bulgarian railways will be interested, as they've seemed pleased with the members that they purchased from the state railways and Railion. One EA, however, has been preserved. EA 3004 was taken over by the Danish Railway Museum in 2020 and was transported to Odense behind MZ Class 1401, where it was on display until August the same year, after which it was put in storage. If you want to know more about the EA class, please watch Kenny's Film's video about the EA class, and if you want to support this channel, you can purchase the Farewell EA class drawing on the SJB art store. Thanks for watching this episode of the Danish Railway Series Advent Calendar, and I hope I'll see you all in the next one.